Hello and welcome to the Physio channel. In this video I'm going to show you 3 exercises to help reduce knee pain. Now the type of knee pain we're focusing on here is anterior knee pain, also known as patellofemoral joint pain. And that is pain around the front of the knee, around the patella or kneecap. Let's have a closer look at where the pain might be coming from. Patellofemoral joint pain is a common cause of knee pain for teenagers and adults. The pain is reported around the front of the knee and its location is often vague, so there's no specific point where the pain often arises. Instead, it spreads around the front of the knee, in particular around the kneecap. Now, as the knee bends, the kneecap pushes back against the femur and the kneecap sits in a groove called the trochlear groove on the bottom of your main thigh bone, your femur. So bending the knee causes the kneecap to compress back into the joint, and that's perfectly natural, but sometimes if there's pain and increased sensitivity, that can cause pain when you're doing normal tasks like walking, and in particular going downstairs or walking down hills, because that causes more compression through the front of the knee. Now, 3 factors can determine the amount of compression that goes through your kneecap. The first one is the force coming up towards the knee. So that's the force coming up from your lower leg, and we call that the ground reaction force because it's how your lower limb reacts to the ground when you're walking and running or jumping, for example. So if you've got good strong muscles in your lower limb, then they can absorb the forces. But however, if you're running on a hard surface and your muscles perhaps aren't as conditioned as they should be, or if you're getting into a fatigue state, which often occurs if you're going on a long walk or on an endurance run, for example, then your body's ability to absorb those ground reaction forces can be reduced, and therefore it can shunt more force and stress up towards the knee and cause further irritation of your knee pain. So one of the exercises we're going to have a look at is one which helps to strengthen your lower limb. And the next factor is the pull from above the kneecap. So your quadricep muscles attach to your kneecap and pull, and when they do pull, they cause further compression of the kneecap back into that trochlear groove on the bottom of your femur. So the muscle pull increases the compression, and again, this is perfectly natural, but if your muscles are perhaps tight, that might cause an increase in the compression. And if your knee is very sore at the moment, then exercises which pull on the kneecap, which of course most lower limb exercises do, might increase the pain temporarily, although it can be a helpful rehab exercise to do for the longer term. But remember, I'm going to show you 3 exercises and you can do the ones which work for you. So if you find one of them is aggravating your knee, then quite simply try one or the other 2 exercises and carry on with those until your knee pain starts to reduce, and then return back to that exercise that you might have been initially struggling with. The third factor that can affect the compression of the kneecap is the position of the kneecap. Now, naturally it is where it is, and obviously if it dislocates, that's a very obvious and painful problem. But what can also happen is you can have a little bit of what's called maltracking of the kneecap. So if we take the kneecap, if you imagine this was my kneecap, the undersurface of the kneecap is very sensitive, but also it is covered in cartilage to help it slide and glide. With patella maltracking, the compression becomes unbalanced and some parts receive more compression, and because the undersurface is very sensitive, then increased compression in small facets of the undersurface of the joint can cause the increase in pain around the patella. At the end of this video, I'll put a self-taping video for knee pain. So have a look at that. You may find it significantly reduces your pain and allows you to do these exercises with less discomfort. So they were the 3 factors that caused the compression over the kneecap. They were the ground reaction force from below, the muscle pull from above, and the position of the kneecap, which can be a factor when we're dealing with anterior knee pain or patellofemoral joint pain. I'm now going to show you the 3 exercises that you can do to reduce your patellofemoral joint pain, and then I'll show you a bonus exercise which, if you can do it, will actually combine all 3 exercises and save you time. So have a look and see which exercises are suitable for you, and see if you can have a go at that fourth time saver exercise as well. The first exercise is standing hip abduction. You actually strengthen both hips when you stand on one leg and take the other leg out to the side with the abduction movement. So the muscles around this hip are working hard to make sure I stay stable and don't drop, and the muscles on this hip are clearly working to lift my leg out to the side. Now for some of you, that might be an exercise in itself, in that if you do enough of these repetitions, you will start to feel some aching in your glutes. Yes, these are your glutes that you can feel burning on the back side of your hip. If your balance is a little off, don't worry, it's not a balance exercise. Just go ahead and hold on to something. So you could have a stick to hand, or you could simply hold on to the side of the kitchen unit or a table or the back of a chair. Pretty straightforward, doesn't need to be complicated, but there we go, that is the exercise. Now for a lot of people, that might not be enough and we need to add some more resistance. What you need is a resistance band. You can pick these up, they're pretty cheap. I'll put a link in the description below to show you which band I'm using here, but otherwise it's a small rubber loop, and you might have some larger pieces of elastic that you can use and make them a bit shorter, or you may have an exercise band again that you can tie a smaller loop into. So don't let your lack of equipment stop you. Hopefully you've got something you can use. If not, have a look on the internet, look at the link that I've put in the description for you below, or pop into a sports shop in town and you can probably pick something up today and then you can get started. So that goes around your knees. It sits just above your knees, just above your kneecaps there, as you can see. Take the weight through one leg again and then abduct that hip out to the side. And just with a little bit of resistance, it does make the exercise that much harder, and you can certainly feel it. Another thing that you can try is, instead of taking the leg straight out to the side like this, you can take it back a little bit. So to do that, your foot should be facing forward. Slightly turn your foot out and then take your leg back. So you're trying to go back behind you rather than straight out to the side. So not right back, not right out, but in between the two. And that posterior side kick can certainly target some deeper muscles in the glutes there, and you'll soon start to feel it. So when I'm doing this now, I can certainly feel the muscles working on this right leg, and now I can feel the muscles working on the left hip as well, as they're working hard to stabilize me and stop me from dropping down like this. So up nice and straight, stay stable, leg out to the side, see how you get on with that, and then leg back like this. Now I get many comments when I show exercises. People ask me, how many should I do? How many sets? How much rest should I have? And that really is quite variable, but let me explain. So the first thing to mention, an important point, is if you were not doing this exercise before and you were not doing any specific rehabilitation, and now you are doing some, then that's the thing that's going to make the difference. Whether you do 6 repetitions or 15 repetitions, essentially doesn't really matter. What matters is that you are just doing it. Now, of course, you can underdo it and not do enough. So if you were only going to do once or twice a week, that's probably not enough and you'll be waiting a lot longer to get some results. Also, if you did it 3 times a day, every day, then that would probably be accumulatively too much. And quite simply, you would get aching muscles and they wouldn't have time to recover, and you wouldn't get the adaptation that you're looking for. So you need to work hard and then have a good rest, so that when you return back to the exercise, you have rested and you can feel that you can give the exercises another go. So I could say, as an example, do 3 sets of 6 repetitions with 2 minutes rest in between. Now, if you're only doing 6 repetitions, you need to make sure that they are really good repetitions and that they count. And it does depend on your starting point. So if you're starting from a low level of fitness, then that's going to be enough. If you're starting from a higher level of fitness, then 3 sets of 6 may not be enough. But it might depend on how stiff the resistance is that you're using as well. So let's have a look. If you're doing 3 sets of 6, it might look a little something like this. Standing on one leg, going out and slightly back because that was a little bit harder, holding it there for a few seconds, and then slowly back in again. Then when you go back out, move it a bit faster, hold it there for a few seconds, and slowly back in again. Okay? By moving quickly, pausing, and then returning slowly, the muscles are working a bit harder because they're under tension for longer. So that means just 6 repetitions might give you a reasonable level of fatigue. Okay, and of course you're going to do both sides. Doing both sides is a good idea for many reasons. You don't want to become unbalanced as such, and also it allows you just to check in and to see whether you have got any imbalances or irregularities in your muscle strength and control. So although one side might be easier, still continue to do that side, because you never know, it might help prevent knee pain on the side which is not painful at the moment. So strengthening both sides, always a good idea. And start with 3 sets of 6 with 2 minutes rest in between. If that's easy, then do more or add more resistance or reduce the amount of rest from 2 minutes to 90 seconds or perhaps 1 minute. All right, let's have a look at the next exercise. So the next exercise is the step down. I've chosen this exercise because all you need is a step. And even if you live somewhere without steps, hopefully you can find a step nearby. And typically near a step there is usually a handrail or a wall that you can hold on to help with your balance. So with this, you can see there is a bit more knee bending going on, and therefore we're going to help to strengthen up those muscles around the front of the knee. All you need to do for this exercise is stand on one leg with the other leg hovering off the side of the step. Keep yourself balanced and stable. Then bend down until your foot touches the ground and then raise back up again. Try to do it without stopping and resting on the ground like this. Try to do it so your foot just dabs the ground and then you come back up again. If you are struggling with this, then it is possible to do this. Slowly lower yourself down and then rest. Use the wall or grab rail to pull yourself back up, and then once again slowly lower yourself back down and then rest so that you take the weight on this leg just momentarily. That's the exercise I recommend for beginners. However, if you're finding that easy, then go down, dab the floor and back up. So at no point are you actually resting weight through your non-weight bearing leg, just going down, dabbing the floor and back up again. With this exercise, it's more important to look at the control of the movement rather than to be concerned about how many repetitions you've done. So here's a couple of things you should focus on. Keep your knee in line with your toes, typically in line with your second toe, and that's important because it shows good lower limb control, whereas poor control would mean that your kneecap drifts off medially, so you come down like that, which would be less helpful and may put undue stress on the anterior knee. So keep your knee in alignment with your toes, with your second toe if possible, and that is a good way of maximizing the outcome from the exercise. Don't be afraid to let your knee go over your toes. There was some advice circulating at some point saying you shouldn't let the knee go over the toes. That's fine to let the knee go over the toes. However, you can also stick your bottom out more and sit back into the movement so that your knee stays behind your toes, and you'll feel that that loads up the muscles again around the back of your hip, which we've just done with that first exercise. So do a bit of both. Let the knee go forwards and let the hips go back, but do make sure your knee stays in alignment. And even though that's just a small movement with a little bit of knee bend, you'll soon feel a decent amount of fatigue building up in your thigh and around your hip as well. If you don't, then you could try doing more repetitions. You could try going from a higher step and dropping down a bit further, or you could add some resistance by holding on to some weights. Doesn't have to be an actual weight from a gym, although if you've got one of those, that'll be perfect. Otherwise, just holding a bit of weight in your hand will be perfectly sufficient. So once again, if you're unsure about reps and sets, then I might suggest you start with 3 sets of 6 repetitions with 2 minutes rest in between. If that's easy, then ramp it up via the methods that I've just described. Let's have a look at the third exercise. This third exercise will help to strengthen the muscles below your knee, particularly the ones around the foot and ankle, and it just requires a balance cushion, which is simply a piece of foam, which is fairly high density, so when you stand on it, it provides an unstable surface. If you don't have anything like this, they're inexpensive, and I'll pop a link in the description. Otherwise, hopefully you can find something around your house which is a little bit soft, such as a cushion from the sofa, for example. You may also be able to pick a piece of foam up from the hardware store, or if you don't have any of these things and you can't find anything suitable, don't worry, get started. Just simply stand on the floor barefoot and you'll just have to make do with the instability of standing on one leg. Simply place your foot in the middle of the balance cushion and stand on one leg. If you need to, use a stick for support, and then all you need to do is balance, taking your weight forwards, back and side to side, different angles, so forward and to the side, round in circles, and then also raising up onto the toes, lifting the heel like this, so standard calf raise exercises, and then side to side. So really making the most of the unstable surface to make sure all of the muscles around your foot and ankle are working hard in order to stabilize you or consciously mobilize you as well. For this exercise, if you want some parameters, I'd recommend that you do it for 30 seconds with 1 minute's rest, and then repeat that 2 to 3 times. Certainly after 30 seconds, if you've been moving the ankle around and foot around in lots of different directions, you'll definitely feel some burn and fatigue around the muscles of your lower limb. So they are the 3 main exercises. Now, I did say at the beginning of the video that I'd show you a 4th exercise that, if you can do it, will save you time because it combines all 3 of the exercises. So let's have a look at that exercise just now. So this is the 4th exercise. You need 3 pieces of equipment for this. You need the balance cushion, a slide disc, or you can simply use something that will slide across the floor, such as a plate, and again you need some weight. Again, it doesn't have to be a weight from a gym, it can be a bag with some books or bags of sugar in, for example. You place the leg to be exercised in the middle of the balance cushion. You take the weight onto that leg, and then you place your foot on the slide disc and you hold the weight in the opposite side to the loaded leg. Then you bend your knee and hip as the other leg slides back behind you and bring the weight down by your side, hold and back up. If you can complete 3 sets of 6 easily, then you can make the exercise a little bit harder by dropping down lower into the movement. Try not to rest at the bottom as I am now. Slowly lower yourself down until that back knee almost touches the floor. Pause for a moment and then bring yourself back up to that upright position. Of course, the other thing you can do to make the exercise a little bit harder is increase the amount of weight that you're using, and that will naturally make it harder to achieve those 3 sets of 6 with 2 minutes rest in between. It's absolutely fine if you want to do a few more repetitions and use less weight, so somewhere like 12 to 15 repetitions, for example, will also give you an excellent strengthening stimulus to the muscles in your lower limb. So if you can complete this exercise, it's a fantastic exercise that will actually cover off many of the things that were included in the 3 exercises that we've just covered. It will definitely strengthen the muscles around your ankle and foot as you stabilize yourself on the balance cushion. The muscles on the front of your thigh, your quadriceps, are definitely working hard, and you'll soon feel that, as well as the muscles around your hip, those glute muscles, those hip stabilizers. They're definitely working hard during this exercise as well. Plus, there's a bit of coordination and balance involved as you drop down and control the slide and glide from the slide disc. So all in all, it can be a fantastic exercise that achieves a lot within a short space of time. If the exercise is too challenging to begin with, don't worry, just have a go at 1, 2, or all 3 of the other exercises first. That will give you some increased strength, and then you may be able to progress to this exercise after that. That brings us to the end of this video. Showing on the screen here is that video I told you about, showing you how to self-tape your knee. So if you have knee pain and you haven't tried this, I definitely recommend giving that one a go. I'll also pop another helpful video up on the screen here, one from the back catalogue or one of the newer videos. So have a look at that one and see if that one can be helpful for you as well. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Please hit that like button if you found this helpful, and consider sharing this video with anybody who you think might also find it helpful for their knee pain. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.